Do you listen to pop songs, whether it's classical or whether it's oldies? And what do people sing about most of the time? Answer: love. And in fact, if you listen to any channels in the radio, whether Chinese or English channel, 49% of the songs are celebrating about people falling in love, and the other 49% are people celebrating or singing about them falling out of love. And the last 2% is about social justice and environmental care. I'm going to show you an example over here. It's a song by Taylor Swift released this August in an album called Lover, and the song is entitled Lover. And was the beginning of this song, there was a little girl looking at the snow glass, and inside the snow glass there was a dollhouse, and they looked through into the dollhouse. There was this lady, Taylor Swift herself, singing a song to her lover, and the song goes like this. It's shown in the lyrics on the screen. We could leave the Christmas light up till January. This is our place. We can make the rules, and there's a dazzling haze, a mystery about you, dear. It's to the husband or husband to be. Have I known you in 20 seconds or 20 years? Well, this is how love song goes. We don't take things in the love song or the lyrics literally. No, it's describing about the mystery of knowing a person, whether know a person for 20 years, but yet at the same time having this new and fresh feelings of just the first 20 seconds. Well, we don't take them literally, as in this song is not describing or someone having dementia say, do I know you for 30 seconds or 20 years? No, we don't take them seriously. And yet, let's go on and take a look at the chorus itself. It says, can I go where you go? Can we always be this close forever and ever? And take me out and take me home. You are my lover. This is what the love song is when it describes my lover. Is the king emphasizing the desire of the girl singing for her lover, for her husband to be. And we know it's not that Taylor Swift was singing halfway and she was starts stammering in a song. No, it's not. This is the same way we look at the new preaching series that we are having now, the Song of Solomon, or sometimes known as Song of Songs. This is a love song. The nature of this book is not historical, and it is like narrative. It is not a letter like epistles, and it's not about laws. This is a love song. It's poetic. It's like the songs that I introduced to you earlier on by Taylor Swift, The Lover. It is the same kind of genre. This is a love song, and to take a closer look at this song, in fact, the whole book, 8 chapters, is only one song. It began in verse 1, it says, the song, singular, of songs. So it's supposed to be sung in duet form, having the main guy's version singing his part, and there's also the main girl's version singing her part. And it's composed, generally taken by Solomon. At least if not, it's compiled by him. And some of us may be asking and protesting, says, how can this be sung or composed by Solomon? We know Solomon's marriage was a failure, was a mess. He had 7 wives that the Bible described for us, and 300 concubines. He himself was an adulterer. And this song of Solomon, is too pure. It's a song targeting that one lover of his whole life. So, how can this be Solomon? Well, there are 2 possibilities. This brings me to the 3-dimensional view to this song. The first dimension, having this 2 possibility here, take a look at the diagram. It is a description of a marriage. Well, the first possibility is that Solomon himself wrote this pure love song before he fell into sin, when he was still young. But after composing the song, he was not able to live up to that standard of the song, especially after he experienced all the successes in life. Well, the second possibility is that he has written this song after he fell and he has repented, which means it's a very late part of his life. He suffered for his disobedience, and finally he repented and agreed that God's design for marriage is still the best. It's for one man and one woman. So that brings me to the first dimension of this Song of Solomon. It is a romantic relationship between a man and a woman in a marriage. But the second dimension that we have to consider, that marriage is first designed not by Solomon. Marriage was first designed right from the creation in Genesis 1 and 2. Marriage has a greater purpose. It's showing a covenant relationship, which is the second dimension between God the Creator, the greatest lover, to mankind, represented by Adam and Eve. So it's describing this covenant relationship between God the greater lover and mankind. But sin destroyed this loving relationship between God the lover and mankind, represented by Adam. So Song of Solomon, as it is a pure song of love, is describing the third dimension, or the second dimension. God is going to restore this loving relationship between Him and man, which is represented by Israel now. That's why you see in other books like Isaiah or Hosea that we have preached through, that God describes Himself as husband of Israel, as the husband of the nation of Israel. So this love song falls within the grand story of Israel and God, Yahweh. But this song falls within a grander design, God's grander design, which is to rebuild a new mankind, which brings us to the third dimension. It is about a greater king, a son of David, greater than King Solomon, who is going to come and going to bring about the rescue of his people, the church. Therefore, in the New Testament, in the whole book of this is pointing to the New Testament, that what Christ is going to accomplish, describing the relationship between Christ and His church, the bride. So therefore, you look at in a few books in the New Testament, like Ephesians and Revelation, is describing about Christ, the groom, and His church, the bride. It's talking about this loving relationship that God, this Christ is going to rescue, this groom is going to rescue His bride. And we ask ourselves, who is this book for? Having understood these three dimensions of Song of Solomon, we can only conclude that the people of God today desperately need the Song of Songs. Because our time, we are experiencing massive sexual confusion, distortion and perversion. And as a result of the fall into sin, even Christians experience deeply distorted and destructive instincts and attitudes about sexuality. Christians experience broken and damaged marriages, and even Christians have unrealistic expectation of marriage. So one author, commentator James Hamilton himself says, the Song of Songs, through reading and studying of it, will make us Christians long for Christ, make us better singles, better spouses, better adolescents, better adults, better children and parents. Therefore, the Song of Songs is for everyone. It's for everyone. Let's begin by looking at verse 2 to verse 4. Mr. Right, I turn it. The song began with the main female character admiring this potential Mr. Right, which is the king, the son of David, the idealistic Solomon himself. But we ask ourselves, what is the quality of this Mr. Right? In fact, this Mr. Right was not only admired by the main character of Song of Solomon, he was admired by many young women as well. Take a look at verse 3. See, the virgins or young women loved you. Verse 4, the main character of the songs, the female characters, in fact agree that these maidens or these young virgins rightly do they love you. And the word love here really refers to greatly admire. Really, is this main character, the king or the son of David himself, was greatly admired by all the young women and this female character in Song of Solomon. So we ask ourselves, what exactly about him? What are his characters that makes these young women admire him? Well, there are three portions. I put that of love, of oil, and of name. Of love, verse 2b describes it, your love is better than wine. Well, it is about his character, the character of love, which is other people-centeredness. Because love is focusing on others, not ourselves. Now, many times today we hear a man looking at a woman and says, wow, I love her. Well, the truth matter is, more often than not, he is really saying, I want her because I love myself. And this is not love. Love is always other people-centered. This is the character of this Mr. Right, this king, the main male character in the song. The second thing, verse 3a, he says, oil is using this word to describe him, most likely referring to the role he played as an anointed king, because they used the oil for anointing king, the priest, and the prophet. So he's describing this oil anointing him of his leadership role, and he says the oil is a fragrance. It's a fragrance. He plays his role in such a beautiful way that is not domineering, not oppressive, not in a top-down way to the spouse. I'm smarter than you, that way. His leadership, in fact, was described in verse 7 as a shepherd. Well, Solomon was never a shepherd, so he was describing that he is playing the role of a shepherd king way, the way he pastured his flock. So, what is a shepherd king way of leadership? Is that he cares, he provides, and he protects the people that he loves. That's how he display or how he plays his role in the shepherd king leadership. And lastly, the third thing that admirable of him is of name. He said, your name is like oil poured out. It's referring to having a good reputation. So it is like whenever you mention his name, people around will be full of admiration and not disgust. When people know that you are with this Mr. Right, they will rejoice with you because it was a good choice. They will not be mourning for you. They'll be happy for you and not worried for you. This is the Mr. Right, as a son of David. And Solomon's supposed to be that idealistic Song of Solomon, the king, son of David, that male character in this Song of Songs. But of course we know Solomon failed. Therefore, in this Song of Solomon, it is also portraying that they were hoping for someone greater than the son of David, greater than Solomon himself. And in fact, this was true. There was a greater son of David, someone greater than Solomon, and he was a true lover. He loves his people, and he would give up himself for them, for their greatest interest. And he is a true shepherd king. He will protect, he will provide, and he will lead his people to a green pasture. And he has a name. His name is above all names. And his name is Jesus. Emmanuel, God with us. He is God visiting poor and wretched sinner. That is a true shepherd king that this song was pointing towards. And if you today, any one of us sitting in this room, has put your faith in this true lover, Jesus, the true shepherd king, you have already the perfect groom, the perfect Mr. Right in your life. Whether you are single or you are married, you belong to him, his church, the bride. What are some applications for us here? Well, I'd like to speak to all the men, husband, boyfriend, or single man. You have to ask yourself and reflect. Ask yourself these questions. Are you working hard on your character of love, other people's centeredness? And are you actively playing your role as the shepherd leader, shepherd king? Hence, because of that, you bear a good reputation. Practically speaking, the single man, please do not say, I'm still single, I don't need to I'm not finding a girlfriend first, so I don't need to work on my character and I don't need to exercise this humble leadership. No, please don't say that, because you will not automatically become one humble king and one with godly character without any practice. So I put there, start now and start with your own family members. Treat your sisters well, treat your family members well, and if it's this spiritual family, treat them well. Next, the husband and or the boyfriends. You have to ask yourself this question: are we working on loving our spouse or girlfriend sacrificially, like the way Christ does? Are we still focusing on our own interests, gaming, fun, career? Or do we place their interests above ours? And we have to ask ourselves, are we taking this spiritual initiative as a humble leader to lead them to Christ? We can lead them by reading the Bible with them, praying with them, and leading them together in the church. So I put there, start leading now. And there are 4 steps that we can start leading now. A, B, C, D. A, acts of love. Do acts of love. Be other people centered. Do house chores, husband. Do it at home when you're asked. Do it when you're not being asked as well. B, build a prayer house. Some of us may say that, oh no, I'm not used to praying with my wife. I've been with them for 10 years, 5 years. I'm not used to praying with them. Start with at least once a week, a 5-minute prayer. Build a prayer house. That's the way you exercise your role as a shepherd king. C, cultivate a word-based sharing. Cultivate the sharing of conversations that leads to discuss the word that leads to application of the word. The husband may say to the wife, well, today I heard a sermon and I think I'm going to put it into practice in this way. Or today I went to BSF, or I went to IDG, or during my devotion I learned about this, and I'm going to practice it in this way. You said it and you shared it enough. After a while, the wife will begin to share the same thing with you. So you cultivate a word-based sharing that leads to application. D, demonstrate humility. Well, husband or boyfriend, we must all know and we must admit that we don't always succeed and we fail. So demonstrate humility by asking for forgiveness. Telling them that, dear, I'm sorry, I'm not the boyfriend or I'm not the husband that Christ has wanted me to be. Please pray for me. Well, there's application for sisters too, the unmarried sisters. You ask yourself, what are you looking for in a man to be your boyfriend or to be your future husband? You must have a right focus. Right focus. Focus on the character. Right focus on the spiritual leadership. And you ask yourself, are you focusing on this man who has godly reputation? Don't just look for looks. Please don't just look for looks. If you just want a handsome man, well, I'm sorry that the most handsome guy in the church is already taken. I mean, pastor. Well, some girls, when I ask them, what are you looking for? They say, I like funny guys. Well, if you're just looking for a funny guy, then you don't marry a godly man. You marry a joker like this in the picture. Well, but be careful, because the crude joke may bounce back on you. Don't just look for men because of their status, their education level, their bank account. Look for one that has a character of love, exercise spiritual leadership, and has a godly reputation. Worse, some girls are not even looking for anything at all. They will just say that, no choice. If not, I'll be left on the shelf. Like what the Hokkien says, well, bo hu hair ho. No big fish, at least small prawns will make do. Well, no, please don't do that. Another application for the married sisters. Well, what can you do? Well, I put there, you help, you support, and you pray for your boyfriend or husband to be the spiritual leaders and godly lover like Jesus. When they are applying the ABCD, support them. When they fail, don't criticize them, but pray for them. Well, then we move back to the Song of Songs. Well, it was a nice description from verse 1 to verse 4, but suddenly this love song moved to a very distressed mood, and you can imagine the beat over here in the song move faster and shorter. Can you imagine in your head? You just imagine the movie Jaws 3. Okay, but stop here. Don't move into baby sharks. Well, at this part of the song is full of anxiety and uncertainty. And I put that in verse 5 to 11, duet movement 1. You know, in the songs there's always movement, right? So this is a movement 1, the female's part. I put there black and lost. Well, at this point, the main female character feels uncertain about herself in verse 5. She says she describes herself as being dark because she was under the sun, and there's possibilities that she was even bullied by her brothers, verse 6. And she's now at this point also missing her lover, that Mr. Right. She has lost him, verse 7. It says, tell me where you are. She's feeling lost, feeling uncertain and anxious. What's the response from the lover's part? What was the lead male character's response? Look at verse 8 to 11. I put there assuring words. He only gave her assuring words to calm the lady down. Verse 7, he gave her directions. He said, follow the trail. And not just that, he addressed her as the most beautiful. Verse 7. He was not bothered by her darkened skin. In fact, she treated her as the most precious. She described her as the most beautiful. She recognized her beauty. Verse 9, not just her beauty but her strength as well. He described her as the mare, but not just any mare. It's a mare by Pharaoh's chariot. It's a war horse. So he recognized her beauty and her strength. And he, at verse 11, publicly acknowledged her. He want to declare that he will adorn her with precious stones, for she deserved it, at least in the eyes of this lover. You see, from the singular form, he moved to the plural form. We will. So it's a public recognition of her. Well, we are thankful. We are thankful that this Mr. Right, this son of David, is not a Singaporean man. If it's a Singaporean man, what will happen? It will be something like this. When the female actor asks, where are you? The Singaporean man will respond, here lah, why you so blurred? Or when the wife is driving and the wife make a wrong turn, what would the Singaporean husband say? Turn right lah. Wow, your sense of direction very tokong no. It's very sad, isn't it? For men or husband to put their girlfriend or their wife down with words. But this is not so for this shepherd king of the Song of Solomon. And this is definitely not so for the true shepherd king, Jesus himself. But many times believers do feel confused, lost, or anxious. At this stage, what will this true shepherd king say to his lover? He will say, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And there are times when believers, when serving, and they feel so discouraged. What will this lover, the true shepherd king, say? He will say, I will be with you to the end of the age. And there are also times when believers will feel guilty, unworthy, or feel like a failure, maybe because of their laziness or because of their sin, and they totally feel not worthy to serve God in His kingdom at all. And what will this shepherd king say? He will say, "Do you love me? Feed my sheep." It's just like saying to Peter, who failed him 3 times by denying him 3 times. Jesus still reinstalled him to his grand kingdom ministry work. He said, "Feed my sheep." Well, for some of us, maybe even the older believers among us, there are times that we face illness, death, and we are probably stepping into the unknown beyond this world. What would this shepherd king say? Well, he would say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into joy of your master." This is the shepherd king that we have. And this is the shepherd king that's depicted here in the Song of Solomon, giving his assuring words. And because of this assuring word, this made the darling or the female character confident, make her feel confident. And this leads us to the last movement of the duet. And there are 3 things about this last movement. I put there duet movement 2, verse 12 to verse 17, of scent, of sight, and hope. Well, the female responded, describing perfume, myrrh, and henna. And these are all elements, either flowers or spices, that give very nice fragrance, nice sweet smells. Well, it's describing over here that this relationship basically gives very nice fragrance to the people around. It is, I put here, a blessing to the people who are involved in the relationship, and it's a blessing to the people around who can smell this fragrance. As opposed to a stench, relationship brings sorrows and pain not only to themselves but to the people around as well. So such relationship is a blessing. And of sight, the male responded, they said, "You are beautiful." And the female responded, "You are handsome or beautiful." It's not that they are perfect or flawless, but it's that they are focused on each other. The male is focusing on female, the female focusing on the male. They are claiming their love for one another. They are not looking at each other, claiming their love for one another and still looking around for some other targets. No. And such a relationship brings great hope. They will build a future, a stable home together. One that is stable, light. That was described in the Garden of Eden before the fall. One that the true shepherd king is building. One that the true shepherd king is building in the church, and it will be completed when he comes back for us. And this is a great hope for all believers. A stable, eternal home for all of us. Amen.